Okay, Givach, good Moed, Moadim L'Simcha, right? Not an easy daf tonight. Not an easy daf tonight. We're in the middle of a sugya. Rav said, "I'm a kaddish b'mil v'eina mekudeshes," and the Gemara is going and constantly trying to go ahead and say it's a machlokes tanoim. That Rav is involved in machlokes tanoim. So that's where we're going to pick it up. I thought to go ahead and I have a chart, an old chart. I thought maybe perhaps to foreshadow the Gemara based upon this chart. Okay, so let's see how it works. I didn't send it out obviously because we're going to be here. Oh, can you see this? Okay, I'll make it a little bigger. Okay, I'll make it a little bigger. Now you should be able to see it. Okay, yeah. I think somebody came on. So, yeah, you came on? Okay. Okay, we can see this? Yes, we can see this? Yes or no? Kenny, can I see it? Kenny, you see this? You don't see anything?
Oh,
Nothing.
nothing's on.
Nothing's on? Now something's on, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Now, we're going to see the following. Again, we're trying to figure out whether Rav is a machlokes rishonim atanoim or not. So we're going to have a case where we have two statements. Statement number one is going to be milva b'shtar and shtar chayiv. So there's two statements, milva b'shtar and shtar chayiv, A and B. Now, if milva b'shtar means that it's her, so there's no difference. In other words, shtar chayiv and shtar chayiv dida, then you're telling me the same din. If I'm a kaddish you with a milva, if it's your milva, so it's the same thing. So what is it speaking about? It's speaking about one is al peh, a milva that's verbal, and one is what? Biyad acherim. One is a milva that is biyad acherim. So a milva bishtar and a milva biyad acherim. In the case we want to figure out now of milva biyad acherim, this case, we are milva from other people, Rabbi says mikudeshes, and the Chacham say eina mikudeshes. So we want to say the following. Rabbi says mikudeshes, if you're using a halva, right? You are what? Your milva, Rav would disagree with Rav. And the Chacham would say eina mikudeshes, because amat and kaddish milva eina mikudeshes. So Rav is a machlokes tanoim. The next four answers is to show I have another way to explain this, which has nothing to do with milva b'shtar, and therefore Rav will always be milva b'shtar is eina mikudeshes, and there's other ways to explain this machlokes. What's the other way to explain the machlokes? It's speaking where you gave over the shtar that other people. Now, you have to write another shtar? I'm selling you a shtar that you can collect from somebody else. So if you have a what's it called, a loan, a note, a load of debt. Now you're going to go ahead and sell it to her. Do you need to sell it to her with a shtar, or can you just give it to her? So Rebbe is of the opinion that osius aniktas b'mesira. The words of a shtar can be kona by just giving over. Reb Meir agrees with Rebbe, and therefore he holds mikudeshes, not because mekadesh b'milva is mikudeshes, because the shtar that you're selling to her is your kaina. Whereas the Chachamim say that osius are not niktas b'mestira. They're not. So if you give over a shtar, you better write a shtar selling that shtar. In other words, you have a note to collect. Do you have to write a shtar that you're selling that note? Says Rebbe, you don't have to. Says the Chachamim, you do. So therefore, like Reb Meir, that you have to write another shtar mikudeshes. She's saimich das. Like the Chachamim, mikudeshes, because just because you're giving it to her, it doesn't mean anything. She doesn't own anything, so she's not saimich das. That's one way to explain the Gemara that Rav is not a machlokes tanoim. Guys, how are we doing? Are we okay? You understand the format? Now, the second pshat is Rav Papa. Rav Papa says when you write, you have to write, you acquire it, and every shibud there is in it. Rav Papa says you write, acquire it, and shibud. Rav Meir does not agree with Rav Papa, therefore you're Mekudeshes. The Chachamim agree with Rav Papa, right? You wrote Kini, you wrote to be Kaina, but you didn't write the shibudim. Memela, Mena Mekudeshes. She's not Samech Das. A third way to explain it is Shmuel. Can you go ahead and be Michael Shtar Chayv? In other words, you could basically mess up a guy. You have a shtar that this guy owes you $1,000. Could you be Michael it? You gave it to someone, you sold it to somebody. If you could be Michael it, right, then you really messed up the guy. So Shmuel says you could be Michael. Eina Michael Yachal Limchal. In other words, you cannot be Michael. Rav Meir does not hold the Shmuel because the woman thinks somebody else will be Michael, but if he wants me to marry him, he's not going to be Michael the Shtar. Therefore, Mikudeshes. According to the Chachamim, no, Yachal Michael Limcha. You're able to go ahead on and be Michael. You're able to be Michael. Therefore, Eina Mikudeshes because she's not Slemich Das. You're giving her a shtar saying that you can collect. She has no raya that you're going to collect. Maybe the guy will be Michael, and she's holding a paper that's worth nothing. Therefore, she's not Slemich Das and Eina Mikudeshes. But again, not Mekadesh b'milva. And finally, the last thing is the Isha. Okay, so everyone holds a Shmuel. The question is, does the woman agree or not? According to Rabbi Meir, I just spoke this out earlier, the woman is not worried that guy's going to be Michael because she wants to marry him, and according to this, you're Michael. So again, these are 4 different ways to explain why Rav is not a Machlokes Tanoim. Hopefully now, we'll go through the Gemara, it'll get a little clearer, but I thought it's important to go ahead and preface with that. Let's see the Gemara. We're up to Mem Zayin Amid Beis. We're up to Mem Zayin Amid Beis. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 lines from the bottom. Let's say it's a Machlokes Tanoim. Hiskacheli b'shtar chayv, be mekudeshes with me with shtar chayv, oisha hoyaloi milva b'yad acherim, when she has a milva b'yad acherim. V'hirsha aleihem, it gives her the power of attorney. Remeyom mekudeshes, the Chacham saying mekudeshes. Hay shtar chayv hechidami. Now, there's 2 cases. There's a shtar chayv and there's a milva b'yad acherim. This shtar chayv, what exactly are we speaking about? Right? If you're telling me, ilay shtar chayv da'acherim, hayna milva b'yad acherim, it's the exact same case. Ella must be lav shtar chayv dida. It must be the shtar chayv, and you'll be Michael hachayv. You'll be Michael with the chayv that she owes you that money. Mekadesh b'mifla kamiflagi. That Rameya holds mekadesh b'miflas mekudeshes, and the Chachama hold not. So Rav now will be Machlokes Tanoim, and now we're going to begin going through 4 different opinions that it's not totally in milva or not. Lo'ilam shtar chayv da'acherim. It's a shtar chayv da'acherim. V'hacha b'milva b'shtar u'milva al peh kaniflagi. And one's in milva b'shtar and one's in milva al peh. The case of the case of bal chayv is in milva b'shtar. The case of milva b'yad acherim is in milva al peh. The case of milva b'yad acherim is in milva al peh. B'milva b'shtar b'may pligi. In b'milva b'shtar, what's the machlokes? Again, this is shtar chayv. What's the machlokes? The plukta the Rabbi v'Rabbana kaniflagi. The Tanya. Oisias niklas b'mesira. Rebbe's of the opinion, the very Rebbe, that you do not have to go ahead, if you're selling a shtar to collect, there's no need to write another shtar on that mechira. The act of giving over that shtar itself, you would be koina. And the Chacham say, Bein shekasav loy v'loy masar, whether you wrote a shtar and you didn't give it over, Bein shemasa, you gave over the deed, v'loy kasav, you didn't write a shtar, loy kana at sheyichta v'yimsar. You need to write a shtar mechira, and you have to give over the shtar chayv. Mar Rebbe is of the opinion islay the Rebbe, and therefore oisias niklas mesira and yekaina. Umar leslay the Rebbe. So this is guys. This is the chart. This is the first thing over here, right? We said over here, Rebbe is of oisias niklas mesira mekudeshes. She's slemich das. Chum say they're not niklas. If you didn't write, since you didn't write a shtar, she's not slemich das and memelowat. She's Eina Mekudeshes, but it's not Mekadesh b'milva, and therefore Rav is not a Machlokes Tanoim. Any questions? Are we good? Okay. 3 more ways to explain the Machlokes Reb Meir and the Chachamim that has nothing to do with what? With milva. Okay. V'ba Yisema, the Kuliyama Leslahu the Rebbe. No one holds a Rebbe that Oisias Nixon Masira. Even Reb Meir doesn't hold of it. Reb Meir doesn't hold of it. Why should we Kudeshes? Rav Papa Kamifagi. Dom Rav Papa. Haiman dezov and shtar l'chavre. If you sell a star to your friend, tzarech lemichtavlei, you have to write kanilacha hu v'chol shibudeha. In other words, fellas, everyone has to write a star mechira on a star. No one holds a Rebbe. Even Reb Meir doesn't hold a Rebbe. The question is, in the star that you wrote, did you write all the shibudim or not? Like Rav Papa, you have to. Like Reb Meir, I don't agree with that. I'm like Rav Papa. I hold you don't have to. As long as you wrote a star, even without shibudim, you're good, right? Mar islay Rav Papa. The Chacham hold the Rav Papa, and since you didn't write chol shibudim, einam kudeshes. Umar and Reb Meir leslay Rav Papa. So that would be what. I'm going to go back each time to make sure that we get this. Rav Papa is of the opinion that you have to write, again, no one holds a Rebbe. Therefore, you have to write a star mechira on your star choiv. And Rav Papa is of the opinion that if you don't write shibud, you're not good. He doesn't hold Rav Papa. So you gave a star, but you didn't write chol shibudecha, mikudeshes. The Chachams, no, they agree with Rav Papa. You wrote a star, you didn't write shibudim, therefore, einam mikudeshes. I'm going to leave this open. Continues the Gemara. Everybody is saying, the kuliyalma islu Rav Papa. Everyone holds you have to write the chol shibudeha. So you wrote a star, guys. You wrote a star, and in the star it says you're kind of the star chayv and chol shibudeha. But what about could you have the ability to be Michael? It's Machal. Michael. And even a Yarish who inherits could be Michael. The Chachams is the Shmuel, and therefore she's not smichas das. So again, very good, fellas, right? Nothing to do with milva. It says mikudeshes. Why? Because you can't be Michael. Since you can't be Michael, you can't be Michael. In other words, the woman's receiving a star. She knows she can't be Michael. Whereas the Chacham say, no, you could be Michael. Therefore, she's not samich das, and therefore she's not mikudeshes. And finally, viba yisema the kuliyalma islay the Shmuel. Everyone knows the Shmuel. The woman herself. In other words, Masava Isha Samchadaita. Reb Meir is of the opinion a woman will be samech das even though she knows her husband could be Michael. She's not samech das. Why? Meima Amma. She says to herself, she's not going to go ahead and leave me holding a piece of paper in my hand to be Michael other people, and therefore she's not worried, and therefore she's mekudeshes. That's Reb Meir. Umasava Isha Nami loy Samchadaita. Okay, good. So guys, what do? We prove that it's not Tali and Milva. Now, there were two cases, guys, right? There was a Milva Bishtar, and there was a Milva B'yad Acherim. We just said Milva B'yad Acherim. What about Milva Al Peh? What about the Milva Al Peh that we're discussing? So we have to explain that as well. I do not have that on the chart, but that's a clause A and clause B. We just explained clause A. Now let's go ahead and explain clause B. And what's the machlokes by Rabbi and the Chachamim whether you mekudeshes or not? The milva, but by what? By milva al peh, b'may pligi, the Rav Huna amarav, dam Rav Huna amarav, monoli biyadcha. Okay, so you have three people standing there. You have a milva, a loiva, and you have an isha. And the malva says to the loiva says to the malva, the malva says to the loiva, the money that you owe me. Right? Either a pikadon or halva, give it b'maimet shloshtin, all three are there, kana. Now this was a chiddush, guys. We just went through the whole sugya of kinyanim. Kesev, shtar, chazaka. If you, a choiv, l'chayra, you need a kinyan, correct? This is one of the chiddush of maimet shloshtin. We had it in Gittin. If the three people are there, if you look at Rashi, fellas, b'maimet shloshtin, Amaloi Kain Kana. If you said in front of three Chayna, there ain't tam bedover, and there's no reason behind this. The Chadhu mitlas mili the Shavi Rabban and Hilchasa like time of Masech the Gittin is one of three things the Chachamim made a halacha without a reason. So therefore, by Maimet Shloshtin, all three were there, and therefore now the question is Maimet Shloshtin only by the Pikadin, or even by a halva, In other words, Heshi is watching my iPhone. I said, listen, Heshi, I want you to be makdeh my iPhone to Benji. Good. That's a pikadon. Benji, I owe Heshi $100. Heshi, that's chayv I have. Could you be makna and we're all together? Can you do that or not? That's the discussion now. Says the Gemara. Masava the Chachama who say Einu Mekudeshes Kikama Rav Haning Milib Pikadon. That's only if you have the Pikadon, if you have the Eifel. Aval Milva, but Alva Loi. So Halva you can't be makna, and therefore Milva Al Peh is not going to work. And Einu Mekudeshes. Umasava and Rameza to the Loishna Milva Loishna Pikadon. She's Slemich Das. Why? Because she gets the money. Okay. So, but bottom line is, guys, what's the bottom line? Rav is not a Machloekes Tanoim. Rav is not a Machloekes Tanoim. Rav said a Mekadesh b'Milva is what? Is Einu Mekudeshes. Again, you didn't give her anything. Milva light son. We went through this. The Gemara will continue to proceed to say that Rav is a Machloekes Tanoim. We're going along the same kav, the same shlaf. We're going along the same shlaf. Now, name a Kitanoi. Let's say it's a Machloekes Tanoim. Hiskacheli b'shtar. Okay, you have a shtar, and you're saying be Mekudesh and be b'shtar. Remeya Omer Einu Mekudeshes. The Belazar Mekudeshes. The Chachamim Ma'imim Shomen Es Hanir. You go ahead and evaluate the paper. Now, what shtar is this, guys? Right? If you're going to tell me it's a shtar chayv on other people, here Rabbi says Einu Mekudeshes. In the first price that we just did, he said Mekudeshes kasha de Rameya. It can't be speaking about a shtar chayv. Rameya is the one who just said on. Remember, he was the first guy. He said Mekudeshes. So Ella must be shtar chayv dida. It must be that what? That it's a shtar chayv that she owes him money. What's that called? That's called the halva. That's called the milva, right? Uv mekadesh b'milva kamiflagi, and the machlokes is mekadesh b'milva. That Remeya holds you not in mekudeshes, and here you hold mekudeshes. Good. So the chayra, let's say Rav is machlokes tanoim. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak Chachamay Askinon. We're not speaking about a shtar of a halva at all. It has no bearing on Rav whatsoever. Outside, guys, we're speaking about a shtar erison. The first Masechta, the first Mishnah in the Masechta. She is nikda bekesef b'shtar u'b'biyah. He went ahead, he gave her a shtar and said, Hariyat mekudeshes li. You're mekudeshes to me. But there are no edim on the shtar. There's no edim on the shtar. Says Reb Meir, Einu Mekudeshes. Why? Because Reb Meir holds Eidei Chasima Karti. What creates the shtar? What creates the get? It's the edim that are signed on it. Rebbe Lazar says Eidei Mesira Karti, and therefore Mikudeshes. You would Mikudeshes. This is if you go ahead and learn out the shtar of Kidushin from a get. If you learn it out, it would have the same protocol, the exact same halachas. So that's the discussion over here. What about the Chachamim? The Chachamim fellows, they're mesupik. They don't know whether we do learn from a not. So therefore, what do they say? If there's a shava pruta in the shtar, then it's going to work mitaris kesef, not mitaris shtar. That is, she's mukadeshes with the value of the paper. You're giving her Chinese cuneiform, right? Something expensive, that a good piece of paper. And therefore, what? It will not work out, since he doesn't know if you go ahead and make the hekish to Kidushin, you'll be working Taurus Kesef. Let's see it inside, but again, it has no bearing on the machlokes of Rav saying Mekadesh ben Milva. Rav Nachman Hachav Mayaskin going Shekitcha b'shtar shein lavedim. For a male tamei, Rabbi goes according to his reasoning. The Amar Eidei Chasima Karti, the edim that are signed, they make the creases. Rabbi Lazar tamei the Amar Eidei Mesira Karti. For Rabbanim Misapkale Ikreb Mei Ikreb Lazar Hilkach. They don't know if they hold like Rabbi Mei Rabbi Lazar. I said a little differently. I was incorrect. I said they don't make the hekesh not. Hilkach Shamanes in the yard. And Yesh B'Shav Put Mekudeshes. Rashi takes out the next words of Lavin Mekudeshes because again, B'Bay Seima Kigoin Shekasu Shaloi Lishma. He wrote the get Shaloi Lishma. They wrote the shtar Eris and Shaloi Lishma. This is what I meant to say. With the Reish Lakish Kamifagi. Do you need the shmar by a shtar Erison, guys? Do you need the shmar by a shtar Erison? We know by get the chasav la lishma. You need a get. You need it has to be the shma. Do we make the hekesh in that the shtar Erison also has to be the shma? The boy Reish Lakish shtar Erison shekasu shaloi lishma. A shtar Erison that was written shaloi lishma mahu. Havayeli yitzia makshina. We make the hekesh bin havayeli yitzia ma yitzia being lishma. Just like a get has to be the shma. Af Havaya Nami being Lishma, so too Kidushin has to be Lishma, and therefore, since you didn't write a Lishma, it's not going to work. Dilma Havaya Ladodi Makshinan. Ma'avai the Kesef loy being Lishma, Af Havaya the Shtar loy being Lishma. Just like Kidushin Kesef doesn't have to be Lishma, so too Shtar does not have to be Lishma. Basa the boy, after he had the Shaila Reish Lakish, the Pashta, he was Paisha the Shaila, the Yatzav, Haisa Maka Shavaya Litzia, that it has to be Lishma. So now, it has to be Lishma. So Mar, Reb Meir says, Islay the Reish Lakish. He holds Reish Lakish. And since the get, and since the Shtar Erusin was not written Lishma, Eina Mekudeshes. But again, nothing to do with Milva. Umar and Rabbi Eliezer of the opinion, Leslie the Reish Lakish. And he does not hold of Reish Lakish. And Mar and Rabbi Eliezer, Leslie the Reish Lakish, he does not hold the Reish Lakish. And therefore what? The Erusin does not have to be Mishma, and therefore Yom Mekudeshes. That's another way to explain the machlokes between Reb Meir and the Chachamim regarding the shtar. Nothing to do with milva. Be by saying the Kol Yalma Isla Reish Lakish. Everyone holds the Reish Lakish that a shtar erusin has to be written lishma. So why? What's the reason? What's the machlokes over here? You wrote it lishma, but you didn't know about it. You wrote it. You should know about it. Uplukta the Rav Ravina of Rav Papa Rav Shravya Kamifli. Ditmar kasvu lishma. You wrote it for Rachel, but Rachel has no idea that you wrote it for her. You know you wrote it, but you have no idea. Now, Rav Ravina Ami Mekudeshes, she's Mekudeshes. Rav Papa Rav Shravya Ama Enu Mekudeshes. Okay, what's this tali in? That if you learn from get does not have to be written with hadas. We don't care about her at all, right? So if you're going to learn from get, Einachinami, she will be Mekudeshes. I don't need her at all. Conversely, if you look at the last Rashi before it gets wide, guys, Eina Mekudeshes, Mayitzia being Beksivas get das makne. When you go ahead, you need the das makne, the one who writes the get, the Hainu Baal. Shemakne Seishul Atzma. We always have the koine and the makne, right? The koine is the one who's acquiring, the makne is the one that's giving over. By get, who's the one being makne? The husband. Does it get, you need the das of the husband to write a get? Of course. By Kidushin, who's the kaina? The man. Who's the makna? The woman. So just like by get, you need the das of the makna, so too by Kidushin, you need the das of the makna, and therefore Einu Mekudeshes. That would be the svara by Einu Mekudeshes. So far, guys, Rav has held serve, right? So far, Rav has held serve, and again, it's amazing. Attack after attack after attack, and the beautiful lumdus of the Gemara, how many ways you can come to explain a machlokes that has nothing to do with what you initially thought it had to do. It is a classic Gemara, really classic Gemara. Okay, name a kahani tanai. Let's say like this tanaim, okay? The Tanya. A woman, she gives money to a artisan. The Amrulai, she says to the artisan, Asili, go ahead and make for me shirayim. Go make for me some type of shayrim, some types of rings, of bracelets. Nizamim, nose rings, tabois rings. They're kaddish ani lecha, and instead of paying you, I'll be mekadeshes to you. In other words, the schar of your work that you're making this gold into something that is what I want, jewelry. So therefore, in that schar, I'll be mekudeshes to you. Kimin shason, as soon as he makes it, mekudeshes. Divrei Reb Meir. So Reb Meir says she's mekudeshes to this artisan. The Chachamim ain't mekudeshes. She's not mekudeshes until she gets money. Now, hi mammon. What money are we discussing over here? It says the Gloit Chacham says she needs to get money. Hechi dami. What money are we speaking about? Ilema oisay mammon. If you're saying the money that she gave to him, in other words, the das of the Chacham, she's not mekudeshes until he returns to her the zav that she gave to him after he made it into tachshitin. In other words, that would be the money. She gave him that zahav, and he's returning it. And then when you are, if that's the money, fellas, right? Then she mekudeshes. Now, what did Reb Meir say? She's mekudeshes beforehand, correct? Fred the Gemara, Mechlal the Tanakama, that Reb Meir, who argues, said, Sava shafilu oisamam and namilate sarach, that you wouldn't need to give that money at all, right? So el b'mai boy mekatsha, fellas, look at me. You go ahead. You give this to an artisan. You say, make it into something. Or the artisan makes it into something and says a meya, she's mekudeshes. Says the chacham, she's not mekudeshes until you get it back. Now, loy reb meya means she's mekudeshes beforehand, correct? From what? What did she get? That's the Gemara. So the Gemara wants to know, what did she get? Back in the Gemara. My lab b'hakamiflagi. It must be what? That he owes her. In other words, there's a halva over here, right? When the schar, right, the schar of the that he owed, that he's going ahead. Listen, I did something for you, right? I made this zahav into something. You owe me. You owe me. And now he's doing away with that. So that l'char is the machlokes, whether you mekadesh from milva or not. And my lab hakamiflagi, like Reb Meir Sava hamagdus from milva mekudeshes. Because again, in the Havamin of the Gemara, even before she received the tachshit, the mekudeshes. The only thing that's there is she owes him money for what he did. That's a halva. And Reb Meir says mekudeshes. So let's say Rav disagrees with Reb Meir. It's machlokes tanoim. There's no other possible exchange here of cash. What is she getting except the fact she doesn't have to pay the artisan for his work? Correct? So that's it. That's a milva. Kash on Rav, right? Rav is arguing on machlokes tanoim, and a mekadesh milva and a mekudeshes. And the chacham say no. Okay, now guys, there's two ways to view a person that's working for you, a seicher. Yesh l'schiris mitchila b'atzoif, or ein l'schiris ella b'soif. So in other words, if a guy's working for you, do you only owe me money at the end, or you owe him money throughout? So now, it's not a halva over here. The kuli alma, everyone holds a mekadesh milva, ein a mekudeshes, like Rav. Rav is not a machlokes tanoim. Everyone holds ein a mekudeshes. And the question is whether there's any money there to go ahead and be used. Masava Rav Meir is of the opinion on it base. In other words, when he returns it to her, right, at that point in time, Yemukudeshes. Why? Because there was no halva over there. There, right at that point in time, there wasn't anything owed. There wasn't a chiyuv until that point in time. Look at Rashi. Top Rashi. Until there's no schiris until he returns it to her. L'shem Kidushin hu moichloi etzla, and l'shem Kidushin is being moichel that what he owes. There's no milva right when he returns it to her. Remember, guys, the din of mekadesh b'milva is when you're not giving anything. If you're moichel the halva, then what? Then if you're moichel, so at this point in time when he's being moichel, there's no halva. There's the money at that. Because there was nothing from the beginning to be moichel. There was no money that you'd be mekadesh with. You only mekadesh in the end. But that's not mekadesh milva. And the masava and the chachamim hold yesh l'schiris mitchila b'atzleif. And there's money from the beginning towards the end. And that's halva. V'bay same the kuliyama yesh l'schiris mitchila b'atzleif. Everyone holds from the beginning to the end, so the kasher is why you mekudeshes, umekadesh b'milva ein mekudeshes, and like Rav, v'hacha b'umin koinim b'shvach kli kamiflagi. It's speaking about a kablin. It's speaking about a person that's a contractor, and now you take a piece of gold that's worth $100, you make it into a becher, it's worth $500. The umin is he's koina that shvach. The fact that $400 he's koina that, and that's when he goes ahead and is being meichel. That's not a milva by him. That's what he's owed. Says the Gemara. Milva the umin koine shvach kli. Masa umin koine b'shvach kli. According to Reb Meir, the umin is koine b'shvach kli, and therefore he's mekadesh with that money. Masa ein umin koine b'shvach kli, and therefore he's not. V'bay seima the kuliyama ein umin koine b'shvach kli is not koine. The yeshna l'skiris mechila v'at soif. And so the question is, how in the world is she mekudeshes? Mekadosh milva ein mekudeshes. So v'hachamay askinan going shahoisif lo noifich mishaloi. You know what? He gave him a bracelet. Make me a gold bracelet. And you know what he did? He put in that gold bracelet, he put in a little stone. So let's go through it. Yesh l'schias mitchil vat soif. There's a halva there from the beginning to the end. Umin koin b'shvach kli is not koin anything. Mekadosh b'milva ein mekudeshes. But you know what he's being mekadosh with? Not the gold, but he added. But he added that little stone. That's the Kidushin over there. That says the Gemara. The masav and milvu pruta daita pruta malva pruta. Good, there's halva over here. There's the gold. That's the halva. But you're not thinking about that. The das is on the pruta. In this case, the stone. That's Remeya. Umasav daita and milva, right? And is das on the milva? That's the chachamim. Bottom line is, has Rav held serve? Absolutely. Or plukta dahani tanoi. The Tanya. Bischash. Okay. Now it says over here, Bischasha sisi imach, right? A Rabbi and Chachamim, they have a machloikis. Their machloikis tanoim is the same as another machloikis tanoim. Tanya. A man says to a woman, "His spima kudeshes to me in the schar that what I do for you." And now there's a chayiv that I'm chayiv to you in this, right? That I work for you in mekudeshes because mekadesh b'milvah in mekudeshes. B'schar she'esa imach, right? When I finish it. Then mekudeshes. Then you mean mekudeshes. Right? Because he owes this schiris from the beginning to the end, and therefore, even though you said the schar that I'll do for you doesn't make the kinyan's not in the end; it's throughout. The kol shekaim b'schasha sisi imach the schar that what I did do for you, which is mamash halva. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi Yomer be'emes amru bein b'schasha sisi ubein b'schasha esa imach ena mekudeshes. Why are you mekadesh with a milva? However, if you add a stone, then mishaloi mikudeshes. Now that's the difference between Tanakama, who says mekadesh and schar of what you do, you mikudeshes, according to Rabbi Nassim, who says you're not mikudeshes. Okay, and it can be now the difference would be is schiris. If you hold that schiris from the beginning or the end, or only at the end, and that's the reason they're machlokes between the two. And Ben Rabbi Nassim, who holds that what if he goes ahead and puts in a stone. To Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, what's the difference? It can be nayu. The milva pruta. What are you thinking about? Sava that Rabbi Nasi holds the milva pruta daita milva, and therefore enu kudeshes. And Umar Rabbi Yehuda Nasi holds soiva daita pruta. His das would be what on the pruta. Let's do a little more. Next is it's a little easier. Gets a little easier. Okay. Says the Mishnah. Hiskachili because zeh bim kudeshes to me with this kais shall yayin. The nimsa shel devash, and it turns out to be honey. Shel devash, v'nim shel yayin, bim kudeshes me with this honey, and it turns out to be wine. Bedino shel zeh shel kesef, v'nimsa dina shel zahav, bim kudeshes me with silver, it turns out to be gold. Shel zahav, bim kudeshes me with gold, v'nimsa shel kesef. Amanash aniyasha, bim kudeshes me that I'm a wealthy man. V'nimsa ani that he's a poor man. Ani v'nimsa asher, bim kudeshes me that I'm ani, and he turns out to be rich. Ein kudeshes. Reb Shimon Omer. If you hit the l'shvach mekudeshes, so pashtus fellas, if you mekadesh with silver, it turns out to be gold. If you mekadesh that you're an oni, it turns out to be an asher. If it's an upgrade, then he disagrees with the Tanakama. You would be mekudeshes, and we're going to see this is zelo pashut. Tanarabanan. Hiskachli b'koizeh be mekudeshes me with this cup. Tanichada boyu masha b'sleichai. One says. You're mekadesh if there's a shava pruta in the cup and what's in the cup. The Tanya idach boy v'loy mashav v'saychay. One only what's the cup itself and not what's in it. The Tanya idach b'mashav v'socho only what's in it v'loy boy and not it. So in other words, v'loy kasha ha b'maya. So now, if you mekudeshes with a cup and there's water in the cup, obviously it's only going on the cup because the water doesn't have any value, so it's going on the cup. Ha b'chamra. When you chamra, it's not the cup; it's what's in the cup. It's wine. Habit sihira is a fish brine. The fish brine used to stay for a long time. You would need the cup to hold the fish brine. So therefore, it would be boy umasa b'shleichai. So depending, if it's water, it's only the cup. If it's wine, it's only the wine and not the cup. If it's kind of fish, this fish extract that they used to use as a dip, sounds very geschmack to other people, right? In that case, it would be what it, because you need it to contain it and what's in it. Im Hittel Shvach, Harzim Mekudeshes, said Rabbi Shimon, Tanakama said across the board, you're not Mekudeshes. Rabbi Shimon said, wait a second, it depends. If it's an upgrade, it's Mekudeshes. Now, yayin, let's say you're selling a person wine, and it turns out to be chaymitz, it turns out to be vinegar. Or chaymitz, you're selling him vinegar, but then it's a yayin. Now, you would assume that yayin is an upgrade on vinegar, correct? Shneim yichalim lachser, both of them are able to go ahead and change their mind. Alma, ika de nichle bechala, they're those that are more satisfied with vinegar. Vika de nichle bechamra. So therefore, if that's the case by a transaction, what about Kidushin? Hachanami, ika nichle bekasba, v'lei nichle bedahava. So in other words, really it's not a kasha on Rav Shimon, right? Because Rav Shimon can argue, but it's certainly some people like silver more than gold. Some people like silver more than gold. And let's say it's equal value, guys, okay? Let's say it's equal value. So in other words, you would have less gold, but it's equal to silver. But some people prefer silver over gold. So why do you say a Karpon statement if it's an upgrade? Automatically says Shimon Yom Kudeshes. We see by transactions, even though most people would rather have wine than vinegar, you see, no, they're both able to change their mind because some people like the vinegar. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Simi Rashi, Ashkela Abaya the Yosef the Kasaval Abai, Kamas B'lei Lebrei. Found that Abaya, he was saying this over, explaining it to his son. Chachamay Askina Kagoin Shama L'Shluchai. He's speaking to his shliach. He's not saying to the woman directly, "Be mekudeshes to me with this silver cup." He said to his shliach the following: "Hilveni dinar, lend me a dinar, shel kesef, v'leich v'kiddush leisha ploinis, and go be mekudeshes to me this woman. V'holach v'hilva shel zav, and he went, and instead of lending him silver, he lent him gold, and he was mekadesh the woman with what? With the gold. Now the woman she doesn't know anything better. She's mekudeshes, right? So the question is, when he told him silver, was there hakpad on silver? Again, all things being equal, let's say the value is equal. In other words, once the value is different, all hands off. The value is equal. But maybe he's makbid, he wants to give her a silver becher or a silver ring rather than a gold ring. Masava kapeda, that he's makbid and therefore ain't mekudeshes. He's not a shliach for what? Not a shliach for gold, only for silver. Masava maramakam uloi. He's only what? A maramakam. He's only simply going ahead what? And showing him what he wanted. That it's go get the silver, but not that he was makbid, and therefore mikudeshes. Now, further Gemara on that pshat. If you're telling me he was speaking to a shliach, and he wasn't speaking what to the woman directly, hiskachi li, it should be. Our Mishnah says hiskachi li, guys. It should be hiskachi loy. Hiskachi li means you're being mekadeshar. According to the explanation that Abai is giving us, that Rav Simi Barashi heard Abai say to his son, it should be hiskachi loy, be mekudeshes to the person who sent me. So that can't be b'shat in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says hiskachi li, doesn't say hiskachi loy. In addition, hita l'shvach, right? If you fooled her l'shvach, hitehu l'shvach. Who's being fooled over here? The Mishaleach, the one that sent, not the woman. What did our Mishnah say? The Mishnah said her. When you fooled her, you mistaked her. So how could you be correct? First of all, you got a problem out in the lashon of li versus loi, and secondly, you have the problem who you're fooling over here. Fooling her or fooling him? L'chayr Baya, you're fooling him. He wanted silver and you bought gold. Nimtza meikara, nami de zavhavi. It says what? What's the lashon of the Mishnah, guys? The nimtza, and it's found to be. Correct? But according to this, it always was. It wasn't found to be gold. It was gold from the time the shliach took it. Nimtza means, only now did you find out. But it's not true. The way you explained it, he was supposed to give silver, he went and gave gold. El Amarava, Ani v'arisha b'chabura tergemino. I the arisha b'chabura, we metagim this. Umano, who is the arisha b'chabura? It's Rabbi Baravin. Hachamay Eskin and going sha'amra chi l'shlucha. She told her shliach, say the kabali kedushin mi ploini. Go, you receive kedushin from so and so. Sha'am Ali, who said to me, Hiskachili bidina shel kesef. So our Mishnah now is in Ukimta. She is making a shliach l'Kabbalah, and she's telling the shliach l'Kabbalah, this guy said he's going to be mekadosh me with kesef. V'holach v'nasan loy dina shel zav, and behold, she found a dina of zav. You found a dina of zav. I'm not sure, guys, if I told you the right pshat. L'chayra, there is a bigger value over here because there are 25 dinarim zav and a dinar of gold. I told you of equal value. I think we're gonna have to delete that because the Mishnah says a dinar of kesef, and it turned out to be a dinar of gold. There is in dinar of gold is 25 dinar of kesef. So let's delete that. What I just told you. I guess the people who like kesef worse than gold, even though the value is more. Anyway, Masava Kapeda, the Tanakama says in Makbid that what? She's Makbid, right? That gets silver and not gold. Umasava, Maramakamuloi. Now, I says Nimtza. What does Nimtza mean? Umay Nimtza, because it was when she accepted it, but it was in a packet, it was in a handkerchief. She opened up the handkerchief, Nimtza, you found what? That it turned out to be what? Gold. So if Shimon says Mara Mokum, there's no Akpada, and therefore she's Mukudeshes, and the Chacham says there was Akpada, and therefore a Mukudeshes. Thank you everyone for listening at this late hour. It's greatly appreciated.